It's time for our review! Yay! This is a review for Hannibal Series 3, Episode 10, And the Woman Clothed in the Sun. Written by Don Mancini and Bryan Fuller, and directed by Guillermo Navarro. Alright, I'm super tired, and the shower is broken again, but this episode was incredible. Oh, so good, it was so good. Oh, let me tell you how good it was. So the first scene is a continuation of the last scene of the last episode, where Dollarhide calls Hannibal in prison, but this is all from Dollarhide's point of view, and you see him breaking into Hannibal's old office and making the phone call, and then imagining Hannibal's there and that they're sitting in the therapy chairs, in the same position that Will and Hannibal used to sit in. And it's creepy and weird. But we get to see the continuation of their conversation from last week. And in many ways, Hannibal and Dollarhide are a lot more compatible than Hannibal and Will. Just because Dollarhide is actually a serial killer and Will isn't, so they have that in common. And I think Hannibal sees that. And he finds that kind of primal dragon darkness thing pretty seductive. So we see Bedelia giving a lecture about Hannibal and her experiences with him. How he, kidnapped her and brainwashed her and she totally wasn't involved in any of the murder or the cannibalism. I mean, I never doubted that Bedelia would do well for herself, but it's just really nice to see her being successful and getting away scot-free. She deserves it. She's so much cleverer than everyone else on this show. She kind of deserves to get away with whatever she wants. And then Will comes in, just as Bedelia's telling everyone how she was swallowed by the beast. And there's this look on Will's face that's just like, bitch, you are not the one he wanted to be swallowing. So the crowd all leaves, and it's just Will and Bedelia, and Will is so pissed off. And it's kind of understandable. There's a lot of reasons for him to be pissed off. Bedelia's profiting from Hannibal's murders. She's lying blatantly, and she's gotten away with lying and not being held accountable for her part in everything that happened in Italy. But I think there is a part of him that's just angry because she was the one that got to be Hannibal's wife. There is certainly a lot of jealousy in this scene, and they're almost comparing notes on their time with Hannibal. Will asks her, "How did you manage to walk away unscarred? I'm covered in scars." And of course the answer to that is that Will means an awful lot more to Hannibal than Bedelia does, and Hannibal wanted to mark him and to claim him. Hannibal wouldn't dare to claim Bedelia. She wouldn't put up with that sort of nonsense. But the dynamic between them is just so amazing, because they have both been his bride, essentially. Bedelia knows how deeply and obsessively these two care about each other, and she also knows exactly what to say to open up every scar that Will has and just hurt him. And she toys with him for a little bit, but she's a very busy woman and her time is valuable. So when Will wants to talk to her, she's just like, "You're gonna have to make an appointment," because she has better things to be doing with her day. So in the next scene, we see Dollarhide pull up at the zoo in his serial killer van. And Reba's in the van with him, and I'm just like, oh no, please don't feed her to anything. But instead, he brings her in to see a tiger that's under anaesthetic because it's having a tooth removed or something. So she really gets to see the tiger. She gets to touch it and feel what it looks like. And there's this moment when she's running her hands along the tiger's head, and her hand goes down towards its mouth, and Francis starts to get uncomfortable and freaking out because he thinks the minute she touches its mouth and feels its sharp teeth, she'll think it's a monster and she won't want to touch it anymore, because obviously he's projecting all his own stuff onto this tiger. But she touches it and she just accepts that that's part of the animal, and she runs her hands back up and she still is amazed by it and like lays her head on its chest and feels it breathing. So Reba is completely enraptured by this creature, and Dollarhide is completely enraptured by her. And it would be this really beautiful, romantic moment if it wasn't for the fact that he is a serial killer, rapist, dragon creature. So that puts a dampener on the romance side. I'm so worried about Reba all of the time. Anytime she's near him, I'm terrified for her. I love Reba, and I love that she's portrayed as being so capable. Like, she's in Dollarhide's house where she's never been before, so it's an unfamiliar environment, she doesn't know where anything is, but she still manages to just, make them cocktails and bring them over without spilling them. Like, I can't make drinks and carry them somewhere without spilling them, and I can see. But I was so terrified for her in this scene, because if you look at it from her perspective, then suddenly there's this guy who seems kind and gentlemanly and considerate, and who everyone else in the place as is incredibly handsome, and you become friendly and you enjoy his company, and he doesn't, look down on you or try to pander to you because you can't see. And then he brings you to see a tiger, and it's just this overwhelmingly wonderful gesture and this incredible experience. And then he brings you back to his house for drinks. Like, of course you want to bang him. Why wouldn't you want to bang him? And it is so understandable that she would be attracted to him. But it's horrifying because she doesn't know how monstrous he is. She thinks that he thinks he's a monster because he has a scar on his face and it's difficult for him to speak. She thinks he just has low self-esteem, and he does have low self-esteem, but he is also a serial killer, so we can't feel bad for him. But there's this moment where they're on the couch and she is, coming on to him. She wants to have sex with him. And he just kind of flips out and picks her up and carries her to the bedroom. And she's, she doesn't object to being picked up and carried to the bedroom. She wants to sleep with him. But I don't think he would have stopped if she'd asked him to. If she had been not quite so into it, he still would have, scooped her up and carried her to the bedroom and had sex with her, because that's what he does. And it's and I don't know if he would have deliberately not stopped, or he just would have not been capable of stopping because he gets in those moments where he can't control himself. But that really is frightening. That's horrifying. It's horrifying for Reba as a character, but it would also be horrifying for him because I don't think he wants to hurt her. I think he does genuinely care about her and not want anything bad to happen to her. But he could still so easily murder her at any second. And that's just not a basis for a healthy relationship. Like when he wakes up in the morning and she's not in bed, and he starts running around the house and kind of hearing the dragon, and it seems like he's really worried that the dragon has got her. Whereas he could have woken up and she could just be slaughtered and he wouldn't know because the dragon did it while he was sleeping. I think that's what he's afraid of has happened there. So it's just not good. And she did, she was fine, and he drove her home. He seemed very relieved that she was fine and she was there, and he took her home. But she got really, really lucky that he was able to not kill her that night, I really, really, really don't want her to die. So we're back in the Institute with Hannibal, and I love Denise. Denise is so cool. I have a logistical question. Does fiddling with the earpiece of a phone direct you to the operator? I don't see how that would work. That really doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And are there still operators? I don't think there's still operators. It's not the 1950s. So, yeah, that confused me. But then I stopped being confused and started being worried instead, because why the fuck does he need Will's address? Why does he need Will's address? I mean, is he gonna break out and go find Will and they're gonna run off into the sunset together and take the dogs? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's gonna be something sinister and horrible, and I don't want it to be, and I'm worried. Always so worried. This show causes me a lot of anxiety. But then I'm momentarily distracted from that because it turns out that Will actually did make an appointment with Bedelia, which is glorious. And they're sitting in their little therapy chairs, quite like how Will and Hannibal used to sit, and it's just weird and cool, and I love their dynamic. And then suddenly there's Zachary Quinto! Zachary Quinto's here! Because the scene is intercut with flashbacks to Bedelia's sessions with Neil. And it's just so nice to see a character be like, Hannibal Lecter is not a good psychiatrist. I think he might be psychotic. He's told me to eat more red meat when I said I was depressed, and then shone lights in my eyes, and now I can't sleep, and everything's awful, and it's all his fault. And then Bedelia's sitting there going like, well, Neil, I think you should be taking your medication. He's like, yeah, this dude is definitely trying to poison me and fuck me up. I'm not taking anything he prescribes. But these scenes are just so well intercut, and that's because Guillermo Navarro is just such a wonderful director. He's definitely my favourite Hannibal director, and he so understands all of the characters and where they are emotionally. So every single cut he makes furthers the emotional storyline of a character, even if it doesn't further the plot of the episode. And it just, oh, it makes me so happy. He's such a good director. My relationship with Hannibal is not as passionate as yours. You are here visiting an old flame. Is your wife aware of how intimately you know each other? I feel so bad for Molly. She has no idea, I don't think, of the extent to which Hannibal and Will were together. And honestly, I don't think she would judge him for that if he told her and like explained it to her, but he hasn't. I don't think he can. I think he's so determined to distance himself from that relationship that he couldn't even dream of bringing it up with her. But it does mean that it's very unfair to her that he has this epic love with someone else and she just has no idea about it. And then Bedelia says, and it is in relation to Dollarhide, you couldn't save Hannibal. Do you think you can save this one? But all I hear in that is, you couldn't save Hannibal. Are we seriously making Save Hannibal jokes already? We've just been cancelled. That upset me. I feel that was insensitive. I did laugh at the same time because it's funny, but oh, I don't know. I can't believe we've been cancelled. I can't believe no one has picked us up. So Bedelia's analysis of Will and her conversation with him is like so on point. She cuts straight through the bullshit and she says exactly how it is. And it's really interesting to see that contrasted with how she dealt with Neil, because she was so under Hannibal's influence at that stage. I think they both were. So to see that play out, the like younger, maybe more naive version of her contrasted to now, that's really interesting to see how that character has developed. And to be fair, Neil does seem crazy. He's talking about why Scientologists hate psychiatrists, which makes me wonder, is he supposed to be a Scientologist character? Because if he is, then yeah, you're gonna think he's nuts. So of course you would never believe him when he's saying his psychiatrist is evil, because he would believe his psychiatrist was evil anyway. Bedelia tells Will that she instinctively wants to crush weakness, which is really not a good trait to have in a psychiatrist. And that doesn't seem to be Hannibal's influence. That seems to be just an innate trait that she has, which is probably why her and Hannibal get along so well. But that is where they're different too, because Hannibal, when he likes someone, will be nurturing towards them. I mean, he will usually eventually eat them, but until then he will be usually nurturing and supportive. Whereas Bedelia is just like, no, I don't like this. Smush. I'm gonna step on all these baby birds. Smush, smush, smush. And so when you see Neil screaming about how this is culty and weird, you're completely on his side, because this is culty and weird and frightening, and he should not be listening to Bedelia or to Hannibal. Neither of them have his best interests at heart. Anyway, then Neil starts to choke. But he wasn't eating anything, so I don't know if he's having an allergic reaction. I don't know if he's been poisoned. I'm assuming he's been poisoned by Hannibal. I have no proof of that, but it just seems like a thing Hannibal would do. And he's falling around the place in such a way that it makes it look like he's had the shit kicked out of him. And Bedelia is trying to help, and she's trying to clear his airway, and she puts her hand in his mouth to try and pull out whatever he's choking on. And then I don't know what happens. I don't know if it's that her hand slips all the way down his throat, or her hand is in there and she gets that feeling of power and that need, that overwhelming need to like crush and destroy. But she just shoves her arm right down his neck and kills him. And she like freaks out and pulls it out and collapses on the floor. So what the fuck was that? I really want more of an explanation of what happened, because I have so many questions. And so when Bedelia is then talking to Will about empathy and saying how you need empathy to commit violence, that made me wonder. I wonder if Bedelia used to be like Will, like that empathetic, that able to read other people and put herself into their shoes. And because feeling things that keenly hurts, as we've seen with Will, maybe she dulled her senses with all the wine and, with indifference as well. Instead of choosing to help and to nurture, she chose to crush. Except with Hannibal. She felt empathy for Hannibal and she tried to help him. But it seems from this scene, she thinks she should have crushed him because it would have saved time. I just don't see how this season is going to satisfactorily end, because there's so much still to explore, and I don't know. I just don't want it gone. So we're back in the Institute again, and Will is showing the new pieces of evidence to Hannibal. The thing that Dollarhide carved into the tree at the family's house was a symbol from a mahjong tile that means red dragon. Hannibal has clearly decided not to tell Will about his phone call with Dollarhide. But then there's this moment where Hannibal and Will are looking at each other through the glass, and it suddenly hit me, and maybe I'm just stupid for not getting this right away, but it's obvious why Hannibal wanted Will's address. He's gonna send Dollarhide to Will's house. Because Will's got a nice little family now, like a happy family. It's the perfect setting for Dollarhide as well, because it's out in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by trees, so no one will see. He can walk around naked in the moonlight if he wishes. There's plenty of dogs for him to kill off because he kills the family pets, and if Winston dies, I am actually done with the show. But Will's got a happy family now with a wife and a kid, and what the fuck? Because Hannibal is awful, obviously, but to send someone after the wife and the child, not just someone who's going to kill them, but someone who's going to rip them to shreds, who is going to rape Will's wife, no, that is unforgivable. It is completely and utterly unforgivable. And it's just stupid as well, because if Hannibal so wants to eat Will, he's not going to get it done now. It's not like Dollarhide spares the dads. He kills the dads, and then Will will be dead, and Hannibal will never get to eat him or be with him or anything. So the plan is fucking stupid. So we see Dollarhide looking very respectable in his suit, going into the museum, signing himself in as John Crane, and meeting Paula and being taken up to view the Blake painting. And naturally, he knocks out the art historian lady and takes the original painting out of its case. And I'm assuming he's gonna just steal it and like have it at home to worship it or whatever he wants to do. But no. He needs to become the dragon, so he starts eating it. He eats it. He ate the painting. But oh shit, Will's downstairs! And the art historian dude tells him that he is the second person today to want to view the painting. And that sends Will's spidey senses tingling. So they go up in the lift, and art historian dude goes looking for Paula, and Will's waiting there, and you just see the head, like Dollarhide's head, just sneak behind Will. And I thought that would be it, like Will sort of senses movement behind him and he looks around and he sees an empty lift. And I thought that would be it. It would be like a really frustrating near miss. But no, because Will spots his shoes. He spots shoes poking out, so he sneaks up and he looks in, comes face to face with Francis Dollarhide. And this is really good because now Will has a positive ID of what the killer looks like, and surely they can like scan his face or do a sketch of his face and scan it and find someone that looks like him and find out who he is. But it's bad because Dollarhide kind of kicks the shit out of Will, just like bodily lifts him up and throws him out of the lift, and then goes downstairs, and Will runs down the stairs to try and catch him. By the time he gets to the lobby, Dollarhide's gone, and that's the end of the episode. So, like I said, I really enjoyed this episode. It was directed by my favourite Hannibal director. It looked beautiful, very well written, but there is one thing that's pissing me off. And I don't know for sure that it's actually going to happen because I'm just speculating, but it seems like this is where the story's leading. It seems like the story is leading to Will's family being put in danger, because if you think about it, of course they are. Why would Will be given a family if they weren't going to be put in danger? But that in itself annoys me. Will didn't get a family because he as a character needed one. He got a family because he is the big, strong, strapping white male protagonist, and he needs like a woman and a child to be fridged so that he can have man pain and then have a reason to try and kill this dude. And it's so cliche and awful. And this show is so rarely cliche or awful. And I wouldn't mind quite so much, but we have had practically no character things about Molly. We know nothing about her except she likes Will, she likes her kid, she likes dogs. And we know nothing about the kids. I don't even remember the kid's name. This is such an overused trope, and it annoys me in other things as well, but especially in Hannibal, which is so well written, and even the smallest side characters always have personality and background. So to have these characters that are, of course, important because they are Will's family, have none of that, it's really pissing me off. And we have 3 episodes left. Maybe that will change. But Hannibal is better than this. And it's less stereotypical and patriarchal and sexist than this. But like I said, I don't know what's to come, so maybe it'll all be fine. I don't know. It's just that at the moment, it's not looking good. That is it for this week. Postmortem will be linked below, along with all my personal links. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel to see next week's episode. I will see you guys next week, when hopefully we will get so much character development for Molly and her child that I will have to rescind everything I said in this video. Until then,